What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here, as always, on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams, and today I'm going to be discussing from 1996, Terminal Rush, starring Don the Dragon Wilson, Roddy Piper, Michael Anderson Jr., Kate Greenhouse, and Dave Nichols. What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me here on yet another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. As always, I'm here to discuss movies starring wrestlers, as I've been doing all month long. We're going to take another look at a film in the Roddy Piper filmography, Terminal Rush, today. Let's get into it. Now, our movie begins with a group of men discussing military weaponry. And a demonstration of this new tech is going to happen very soon, with 27 countries in attendance to witness its power. The men say that only someone who is nuts would try to steal the weapon off of an Air Force base. We then see a group of men plotting to storm the base and steal the weapon. So apparently they're nuts. We then see some locals in a bar messing with a young employee. Deputy Sheriff Jacob Harper steps in and he stops the harassment. The locals try to rough Harper up for getting involved, but Jacob is able to beat them all up. Jacob goes home and he finds his wife, Catherine, packing her things. The two of them have been separated for a little while, and she really wants to get out of the desert. She offers to let Jacob come with her, but he wants to stay. He enjoys being in the desert. You see, he's part Indian on his mother's side. His father's Caucasian. And so he likes to be in the desert, staying close to the Native American people that are part of his tribe and his heritage. Catherine even tries to drop a bombshell, telling Jacob that she's pregnant. He tries to force her to stay at that point, saying that, you can't leave with my child. You just can't do that to me. She leaves anyway. And then Jacob goes to reflect at one of his favorite spots, like a thinking spot, And his father finds him up there. His dad even tries to talk Jacob into going with Catherine and not throwing his relationship away. And part of why Jacob wants to stay is because his grandfather, Eagle Claw, told him that he had a vision that he would have a big moment there in the desert. And this prophecy hasn't been fulfilled yet. So, being how proud he is of his Indian heritage, his Native American heritage, he doesn't want to leave the desert until he's fulfilled this vision that his grandfather had for him. Meanwhile, a terrorist team has stormed the base and taken over the Hoover Dam. The leader is a man named Decker, and his muscle is Bartle, and Bartle is Roddy Piper's character. And they've taken over the control room and contacted the authorities with their demands. They want $25 million, or they'll blow up the dam. And they try to pitch to the whole authorities. It's like, look, give me the money, or think of how much it's going to cost to fix the dam, plus all the damage that'll be done to civilians and homes with the dam being destroyed. It's your call. Now, Jacob's dad works on the dam, and he just happens to be there when this happens. So now Jacob wants to get involved because it's personal to him. He wants to make sure his father is safe. Harper tries to get the attention of lead FBI agent Collins, as he's on the phone getting the demands from Decker. And he wants to, Jacob wants to share information with him and work with him. But Collins is getting aggravated by Jacob constantly interfering in his phone call, so he has him removed. Now, Bartle wants to kill some hostages. Send a message to the FBI that they're not kidding around. Right off the bat, let them know that we're serious and we mean business. But Decker won't let him. At least not yet. Jacob tells Catherine that he intends to storm the dam to try to save his father. And his plan is to use some hidden tunnels underneath the dam that he used to play in as a kid. Decker calls Agent Collins and tells him that he's going to start killing hostages every 2 hours until he gets the $25 million. Decker takes Bartle outside, and he allows him to fire, it's like a rocket launcher or a grenade launcher, at a helicopter that's on the scene, destroying it, blowing it away. So Jacob enters the tunnels, and he begins to search for his dad. Some of the guards stop responding to their headsets and being called, and some of the other members of the terrorist team begin to suspect there's an intruder. Bartle says that he wants the head of whoever is intruding and trying to invade their takeover. A couple of guards spot Jacob, and we begin to have a shootout. They fire at Jacob. Jacob returns fire. Ends up being a stalemate. Jacob finds a grenade, and he throws it. And it just happens to land at the feet where one of the guards is hiding. Blows up, blowing them away, kills them. Bartle sends some of his team down to look for the security guards, try to find out why they're not responding to their headsets. All they find is dead bodies. So Jacob reaches the end of the tunnels and inside enters the interior of the dam. The main floor, if you will. Bartle heads back out topside because he's going to use his launcher again. And this time Decker has him take a hostage to throw him off the dam, showing Collins that they're serious here. Meanwhile, military personnel are trying to get into position to try to help with the rescue. Jacob gets caught temporarily by a man named Larson. Jacob's able to fight his way free and defeats Larson. The big difference here, as opposed to some of the other films that I've been talking about, is Jacob has some respect, some code. Jacob isn't trying to kill these people. He just wants to take them out so he can continue his mission. Big difference. Collins radios his military commander, and he gives permission to use full force on Decker. Shoot to kill when you see him. Bartle fires his grenade launcher at some of the military personnel because he can see that they're starting to position up, killing them. Well, now Webb, another cop, enters the situation. He pulls his gun on Jacob, makes him drop his weapon, revealing the fact that he's with the bad guys because he has the password to what they need, to the systems and everything. Second military team moves into position, and Jacob finally encounters Bartle, and the two of them begin to square off. Webb tells Jacob that he did it for the money, but he didn't really think of the actions, the repercussions of his actions. He was just thinking of his payday. But he's starting to feel a little bit of remorse now about what he did and how he betrayed his government. So he tells Jacob that Decker has the key to the hostages. He's who you need to find. If you're trying to free the hostages, you got to find Decker. Decker tells Collins that he doesn't have explosives, that he's not going to blow up the dam with all this hoorah and explosions and everything. He's got a more mental game involved. Collins tries to figure out what he means, and he figures that they're going to blow the generators, hence where passwords come in to be able to get into the computer systems and activate and do what they need to do to make sure these things blow up. Jacob brings Webb and Bartle to Decker, and he offers to trade them for the key to the hostages. And Decker thinks Jacob is bluffing until Jacob cocks back the hammer on his two guns and is ready to fire at both of them. Decker ends up surrendering the key. Jacob frees the hostages. Decker inserts the code and everything he needs, sets the timer off to blow up the generators and destroy the dam. Because he never got the money, the hostages are free. He's going to destroy the Hoover Dam, killing anyone inside, and whatever collateral damage happens, so be it. The clock begins to count down, and Webb is dying at this point. He's been killed. He's bleeding out everywhere because of his betrayal, not just to Jacob, but to Decker. So he's been killed. He's laying down in a puddle of his own blood. And the clock's counting down, and he's trying to get Webb to give him the password. And Webb is writing out in his blood the password. The problem is he writes it backwards at first. So Jacob reads RATS and thinks it's rats. That doesn't work. He realizes that it's backward and he tries the password star. Shuts everything down. 1 minute left to spare on the countdown clock before everything blew up. Webb dies, but at least he redeemed himself a little bit in the end. Saving the dam, everyone inside, collateral damage, civilian damage, and casualties. However, something seems a bit off to Jacob. He feels that Decker and Bartle surrendered way too easily, that there must be more involved. So he tracks down Decker and Bartle. Fight ensues. He ends up taking them down. FBI comes in, places them under arrest, and the day is saved. Dam didn't blow up. Decker and Bartle are now in custody. Nobody of real importance lost their lives. The hostages were all saved. Catherine shows up And needless to say, she's proud of Jacob for what he did. They embrace, and she agrees to stay while he heals. But she tells him as soon as he's healed up, she's gone. I'm out of here. I've told you I don't want to be in the desert. Jacob then asks her if he can come with her. And she says that she'd really like that. Because in Jacob's mind, this saving the Hoover Dam was his big moment in the desert. He's finally fulfilled that prophecy that his grandfather spoke of. I'm going to be honest with you guys. This movie bored me a little bit. I did like the fact that Roddy Piper was a villain, because in a lot of his movies, he's the good guy. He's the hero. He's the baby face. And, once we got past the whole Hulkamania first couple WrestleManias, Piper was pretty much a babyface the whole rest of his wrestling career anyways. Very rarely was he a heel unless he was going up against Hogan. And even in WCW, when they had the return match, Hogan was the heel because he was NWO. Piper was the babyface in that one. So it was kind of fun to see Piper play the heavy in a movie again, be the heel. But I don't feel like he did anything too spectacular. The movie really bored me a little bit. There were a few times when I caught myself looking at my phone or playing my games on my phone when I probably really should have been paying attention to the movie because it just wasn't keeping my interest. When I talked about Mr. Nanny the other day, I mentioned what Jeff said when we talked about No Holds Barred and how he said that Hogan's movies get better from No Holds Barred and Piper's really don't get much better after They Live. And I'm slowly starting to see that he was very, very much right in that proclamation, because Hell Comes to Frogtown was okay. This bored me a little bit. And then They Live is classic. Now, I do still have a couple more Piper films that I'm going to be tackling here this month. If I can just bring up the thing here real quick. I'm going to be talking about The Chair and Sci-Fighters still to come this month. So I'm going to be curious to see how those turn out. If I end up being bored like I was with this one, or if I enjoy them on the level that I enjoyed They Live. When it comes to my ranking for this one, I'm only going to give it 2.5 out of 5 stars. It really left a lot to be desired. I almost gave it 2 stars, but seeing Piper as the villain, as a villain, earned it its extra half star for me. There was a lot left to be desired about this one, though. I'm not going to lie. Make sure you get out there on social media. Get those hashtags trending for me. Hashtag Casa D18 Studios. Hashtag Renegades Reviews. Hashtag Renegade Returns. And, of course, the ever-popular hashtag Shenanigans. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade J.J. Williams, Stat Boy Sports Bar, and the hashtag StatBoyApproved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. Don't forget to get out there. Do what that commercial just told you. Go to teespring.com/forums/Jeff Meacham Network. Get you your official Jeff Meacham Network merchandise, your logo t-shirt, Talk Wrestling shirts, Meachamania shirts. Get you your official t-shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, your Renegade JJ Williams shirt, Stat Boy Sports Bar, Dad's Not Always on Wrestling, and so much more. Make sure you join me here tomorrow, as always, on the Casa D18 Studios for another brand new episode of Renegades Reviews, when I will be discussing from 2017 Checkpoint, starring Kenny Johnson, Bill Goldberg, Mindy Robinson, Michelle Lee, Fred Williamson, Ricky Harris, William Forsythe, Kane Hodder, and Tyler Main. You're definitely not going to want to miss that right here on another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. Thank you for joining me today. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment box below. I will respond to them. I might even read one on the Renegade recap here at the end of the month. I appreciate your support. Thank you, and I will see you guys next time.